Just a few weeks ago, a set of federal rules quietly started reaching millions of mailboxes across the country. And almost nobody explained what it actually means if you're a senior trying to figure out your next move. What you heard instead was the usual noise: inflation numbers, stock market headlines, election chatter. Nobody sat down and walked through what's really changing for your Social Security check, your Medicare bill, or the assistance programs you might be counting on. And at the exact same time, a tax break that's already been law for a year is sitting there, mostly unclaimed because half the people who qualify for it don't even know it exists. Two completely different tracks. One lands on your tax return, the other lands in your mailbox, and together they represent a real shift in what's available to older Americans right now. Heading into the back half of August, most channels are only covering one of these, if they're covering anything at all. I'm going to walk you through all three. I am no expert, but on this channel, every week I cover the real financial information that affects seniors directly, the rules that changed, the protections you already qualify for, and the steps that actually make a difference. This is exactly the kind of content I put out every single week, and you do not want to miss it. If that's the kind of information you want to hear, then make sure to hit subscribe and turn on notifications right now. Now, let's get into it. Let's start with where all of this actually came from, because it explains a lot. Back in the summer of 2025, Congress passed a sweeping tax and budget package through a process called reconciliation. It squeaked through the Senate on a tie-breaking vote, passed the House by a narrow margin, and was signed into law on July 4th, 2025. Inside that package were two things that matter enormously to seniors: a brand new tax deduction aimed specifically at older Americans, and a complete overhaul of the work requirements attached to Medicaid and SNAP. Both are now live. Both are affecting real people right now. And on top of that legislation sits the annual Social Security and Medicare adjustment that took effect back in January, which is still working its way through people's monthly checks in ways most retirees haven't fully clocked yet. So let's break down the three biggest things affecting seniors this August. Change number one: the $6,000 senior bonus deduction is still sitting unclaimed for a lot of people. Here's the genuinely good news, and is worth understanding properly instead of just hearing the headline. If you're 65 or older, you can claim an extra $6,000 deduction on top of your regular standard deduction for tax years 2025 through 2028. This is not a check mailed to your house. This is not a stimulus payment. It's a deduction, which means it lowers the amount of your income that actually gets taxed. And for a meaningful number of retirees, it's enough to wipe out federal taxes on Social Security income almost entirely. The full $6,000 applies if you're a single filer earning up to $75,000, or a married couple filing jointly earning up to $150,000. Above that, it phases out at 6% for every dollar over the limit, and disappears completely somewhere around $175,000 for individuals, and $250,000 for joint filers. Here's the part most coverage still leaves out. This deduction helps middle-income retirees the most. If your income is already low enough that the standard deduction erases most of your tax bill anyway, this addition won't move much for you. And if you're a higher earner, you may barely see it or not qualify at all. Independent estimates suggest roughly half of Americans 65 and older won't get a meaningful benefit from this, purely based on where their income sits. It's also worth repeating that this deduction has an expiration date. Unless Congress extends it, it disappears after the 2028 tax year. So if you fall in that middle income range, this is the window, not something to leave for later. Make sure whoever files your taxes, whether that's you, a family member, or a preparer, actually knows to apply it, and make sure your Social Security number is current and correctly on file, since both spouses need one listed to claim it jointly. Change number 2. Your Social Security raise isn't as big as the headline made it sound, but there's real relief hiding in the details. Now, let's talk about the number seniors actually care about, the size of the check. Back in January, Social Security recipients got a 2.8% cost of living adjustment, pushing the average monthly retirement benefit above $2,070, an increase of roughly $56 a month. On paper, that's a solid raise, better than the previous year's 2.5% bump. But at the exact same time, Medicare Part B premiums jumped from $185 a month to $202.90, nearly a 10% increase and one of the steepest hikes in the program's history. With the annual deductible climbing as well, since most people have that premium pulled directly out of their Social Security payment, the increase eats straight into the COLA raise. For a lot of retirees enrolled in both programs, the real net increase lands closer to $38 a month, not $56. There is a legal protection worth knowing about here, called the hold harmless provision. It stops your Social Security check from actually shrinking year over year because of a Medicare premium hike. But it doesn't cover everyone. New retirees and higher earners who already pay above the standard Part B premium aren't protected by it. Here's the piece of real good news buried in all this. Medicare's drug price negotiation program is now producing actual savings on the ground. A first round of negotiated drugs covering common treatments for heart disease, diabetes, kidney disease, and psoriasis saw price cuts averaging at least 50%, and federal estimates put the total savings to beneficiaries at roughly $1.5 billion this year. A second, larger round is already underway for 2027, covering 15 additional medications, including some of the most widely used weight loss drugs on the market. If your income has dropped recently, whether from retirement or another life change, you can actually notify the Social Security Administration and request your Part B premium be recalculated based on your current income, rather than an old tax return. Most people never ask, and most people qualify for the adjustment when they do. So here's what I want you to do. The benefits, the discounts, the assistance programs most seniors qualify for, but never actually use. I gathered them all in one spot, organized by state and by program, so you don't have to dig through confusing government websites for hours. It's quick, it's straightforward, and any senior can find exactly what fits their situation. No matter what state you're in, there's help out there you're probably leaving on the table. It's called the Senior Exemption Playbook, and it's sitting in the first pinned comment right under this video. Just tap it once and you'll have everything you need. Now stay right here, because the last one is where a single overlooked application can turn into the biggest number on this entire list. A program that can wipe out an entire monthly bill you're already paying, and almost nobody who qualifies for it ever gets around to applying. Change number 3. New work requirements are rolling out for Medicaid and SNAP, and this is the one most likely to catch people off guard. This is the change that lines up almost exactly with where we are right now, and it deserves the most attention. The same 2025 legislation that created the senior deduction also rewrote the work requirements for Medicaid and SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, still commonly called food stamps. SNAP changes are already active. The age range for what's called an able-bodied adult without dependents, the group subject to strict work requirements, has been expanded. That requirement used to stop applying once someone turned 55. Now it extends up to 64, meaning adults in that range must work at least 80 hours a month, participate in an approved training or community service program, or volunteer enough hours to meet that threshold, or risk losing benefits after 3 months within a 3-year period. Several exemptions have also narrowed. The caregiver exemption used to apply if your youngest child was under 18. Now it only applies if that child is under 14. There are still exemptions for adults 55 to 64 who are pregnant, caring for a child, 13 or younger, or dealing with a documented physical or mental health barrier to employment. Medicaid is the one worth watching most closely right now. Federal guidance required state Medicaid agencies to send outreach to affected members between June 30th and August 31st this year, meaning if you or someone you know is on Medicaid, a letter, call, text, or email explaining these new requirements may already be sitting in your mailbox or inbox. Following a federal comment period, the underlying provisions officially took effect on July 31st, and states have until January 1, 2027 to fully implement them, with some moving faster through waivers. This matters most for people in their early 60s who rely on Medicaid for coverage before Medicare eligibility kicks in, or on SNAP to help cover groceries. For some, missing this outreach could mean a real gap in coverage or benefits, even temporarily. Here's the overlooked benefit I mentioned earlier. If you are on Medicare and living on a modest fixed income, there are Medicare Savings Programs run through your state's Medicaid office that can pay your Part B premium for you, and in some cases, your deductibles and copays too. These programs go by names like QMB, SLMB, and QI, and a large share of eligible seniors never apply simply because they've never heard of them or assume they wouldn't qualify. If your Medicare premium is the biggest recurring bill you're paying out of your Social Security check, this is worth 10 minutes of your time to check. So here's what's genuinely happening for seniors this August. The $6,000 senior deduction is real and active, but it's most valuable for middle-income retirees, and it won't last forever. The Social Security COLA is real too, but rising Medicare premiums are quietly absorbing a good chunk of it, even as negotiated drug prices are starting to hand real savings back on the other side. And new work requirements for Medicaid and SNAP are rolling out right now, with outreach letters landing through the end of this month, which makes this the single change most likely to slip past someone if they're not paying attention. Here is exactly what to do. 3 steps. Step 1, go to liheap.acf.gov to find your state's LIHEAP administering agency and the specific opening date for your state's August enrollment window. The federal site lists every state's contact information and current eligibility guidelines. Step 2, gather your documents before you apply. You will need your Social Security card, a recent benefit award letter showing your monthly income, your most recent utility bill showing your account number and service address, and a government-issued photo ID. If you live in subsidized housing or receive SNAP food assistance, bring that documentation too. It can accelerate approval. Step 3, if you are unsure whether you qualify or need help completing the application, call 211. That is the National Social Services Helpline. Available in every state, free of charge, and specifically trained to connect seniors with benefit programs including LIHEAP, SNAP, property tax relief, and additional utility assistance. Call before August 15th. Do not wait until after the window opens to gather your paperwork. The applications approved fastest are the ones that arrive complete on day 1 of the enrollment period. None of this is about panic, and none of it is about promises of surprise checks showing up out of nowhere. It's about understanding the actual rules so you or someone you care about doesn't miss something that matters.